Instead of shoving more consumerism down your throat, how's about some gun news instead? We've got one of the weirdest looking guns I've ever seen coming to the United States. It's called the Pistolo 77, and it looks like something straight out of RoboCop or some kind of futuristic movie, but it's actually coming from the Czech Republic. As for the basics, it's chambered in 9mm, has a 10-inch barrel with a threaded muzzle specifically for the US market, along with a pistol brace out back. And then things get a little muddy in translation. The barrel has some sort of safety lock built into it on the top. I don't know what that's for. There's a built-in solar-powered optic that says it has automatic correction of the intensity of the warp, which is good because who wants their warp too intense? Right? Right? All right. Also, that sight appears to be stuck on the gun because there is no rail to be seen. Then you have the mag release, which says two-sided emptying the reservoir. And the mag base plate has a widened bottom on which the firearm stands independently. There's also an AMB safety, which is nice. It then comes in 4 colors, red, blue, brown, and gray, and we don't know much else right now. But according to the firearm blog, the price overseas is about 3,000 euros MSRP, and that means the pricing in the US will likely be just as ludicrous. I hate it, and I want one. I'd love to know what you guys are thinking of this. At its core, it's a 9mm PCC. Does it do anything for you? Almost had a stroke there. Sound off in the comments and let us know. Welcome back to another episode of the Gun Collective News. I am John Patton. Hello, welcome. It's great to have you here. It would be amazing if you subscribe to this channel on YouTube, because when we get to 500,000 subscribers, we're almost there, I'm going to do a massive giveaway that you're not going to want to miss. I promise you that. And stay tuned. We have another absolutely smoking deal of the week for you later in the show. It's going to be great. Stick around. We got some more news to cover. Let's keep the pace rolling with some new guns. Henry Repeating Arms has a new kit that they're marketing called the Cowboy Kit. It comes with a big boy brass carbine in .357 Magnum that has a 16.5-inch octagonal barrel, walnut stock, and a large loop lever. Then you can pick between the bird's head or gunfighter grip on a big boy revolver in .357 Magnum, and it comes with a revolver case or some kind of leather wrap that looks, I don't know, kind of useless to me, for an MSRP of $17.76. Honestly, most gun companies miss out on cool bundles like this, and that MSRP doesn't really offend me in this case. I don't know, what do you guys think? Custom and Collectible Firearms, aka CNC Firearms, has a new Daniel Defense Special Edition for us this week. It's a Mark 18 pistol with a 10.3-inch barrel, chambered in 300 blackout, with an SB A5 brace out back and a two-tone finish that I'm going to call Baked Turd. They're only doing 200 of these, and the MSRP is $3,000. That is nearly $700 more between this custom version and the standard one from DD for what is basically a Cerakote job and a different brace. I'll let you guys hammer them down in the comments because that's dumb. Ruger has new versions of the Hawkeye Hunter. All of them have a 16.6-inch threaded barrel and honestly look pretty nice. I like the classic bolt-action look. They'll be available in .308, 6.5 Creedmoor, .243 Winchester, and .358 Winchester in either a satin blued or stainless finish. MSRP is $1,500 on those. And speaking of Ruger, Magpul has announced the new full-size grip module for the RXM in their late-year product release thing that they do. So basically, this will turn into a G45 size pistol. This will take 17 round mags, and the MSRP on the module is $40. It can be had in black, flat dark earth, gray, or OD green. We actually have one of these on the way, a new RXM, so we can run this setup and let you guys know what we think. Magpul also released new mags for the P365 that have a stainless steel body and carry 17 rounds, and that's pretty cool. That's great for 35 MSRP. There's also a new Hunter Light stock for the Ruger American Short Action for $220 MSRP. I was recently describing Magpul to someone as kind of the 800-pound gorilla of gun accessories because they do a lot of stuff and they do it pretty well. And you know who else does things really well? This week's sponsor, Second Call Defense. If you ever get into a defensive shooting, First, you call 911, and your second call should be to Second Call Defense. They offer unlimited legal defense protection for both criminal and civil defense cases and immediate cash bond for up to $1 million so you don't have to spend the weekend in jail. It's also not just limited to guns. They'll protect you in a self-defense case with any weapon, a kitchen knife, a baseball bat, a rock, a vehicle, your hands, anything. There's also a 24/7 emergency legal hotline, on-site assistance, and they'll even help you get your gun back. In fact, I feel so confident with what they've got going on that I decided to become an Ultimate Plus member and get the maximum protection that they offer. I highly recommend that you go to secondcalldefense.com, and when you sign up, if you use our code TGC, you'll get your first month for free. That's great. Big thank you to Second Call Defense for supporting the TGC community. They love you guys and want to make sure that you are covered. Let's keep it rolling with this week's Friendly Fire questions. If you want to ask a Friendly Fire question, drop it down in the comments below. Michael James says, what's the best way to get into gunsmithing or manufacturing in the gun industry? I think a lot of companies are constantly looking for CNC operators that are great. It's hard to find good help these days. That's a legit phrase. And they're also looking for good engineers as well. So having some kind of background or experience in that is probably the best way, in my opinion. I don't know. Robin Scholl says, can you bring back Adam and the Legal Brief? We did try bringing him back on a bi-weekly show called The Big 2A, and the viewership on that show just wasn't that great. That said, we're working on another way to get him involved and keep you guys up to date on 2A stuff, so stay tuned for that. Wolf Fang Fist says, are you guys considering Pepperbox for 2026? Nope. I don't see any benefit to us being on there at the moment. We have Floatplane, we have Rumble, X, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to release content. So unless something changes, I'm not likely to add anything to the mix. I don't see the benefit of us going over there. And John Wells says, how do you feel about combination guns? If you're unfamiliar with this concept, this is where companies have done a multi-barrel gun with different calibers. For example, Savage currently sells the Model 42 that shoots 22 out of the top barrel and 410 shells out of the bottom barrel. It would be kind of neat to see them come back, but they're so niche, I'm not sure they would sell enough to make it worth producing them. I don't know. They're kind of cool, I guess. It'd be neat if I could run a can that had, like, but I don't know. I would want to run it suppressed, personally. My friendly fire question to you guys this week. Did you find any BFCM deals this year? Besides the ones that I've talked about on the show, which I know are good, I'm not sure where the best ones ended up. So sound off in the comments and let everybody know. Let's talk about some new ammo. Federal's Custom Shop announced a bunch of new turkey hunting shot shell loads. They are going to do them in 12, 20, and 28 gauge loads, and these are loaded intentionally for your guns. They want you to give them the info on that so they can like dial it in for you, and that's super cool. However, you do pay for that privilege at between $94 and $140 MSRP per box. Yikes. They also have some new custom shop rifle loads as well in cartridges like 6.5 PRC, 6.5 Creedmoor, 7 PRC, and 300 Wisdom, with prices ranging from wow to oh my lord, that's ridiculous. In other ammo news, Boss Shot Shells is bragging about their all-copper birdshot. Traditionally, shot shells are filled with lead, steel, tungsten, or bismuth, or like some kind of coated steel, tungsten, bismuth, something like that. And this brand is filling it with copper shot. They say that even though this is slightly lighter than bismuth, it's delivering 3 times the hardness, so pellets won't deform as much, and you'll get better results because of that. It's available in all the popular gauges, so that's kind of cool. Honestly, I'm a big fan of stuff like this. We all have lead contamination in our blood by default, thanks to leaded gasoline making the world dumber as a result of trying to make things more affordable and efficient. So reducing the intake of lead in some kind of way isn't necessarily a bad thing. Yes, that's true. Watch the Veritasium video on it. It's worth watching. In gun industry news, the Secret Service is on the hunt, but not for what you might think. It's not them looking for the real story on Thomas Crooks. No, they're not doing that, but rather a new 5.56 rifle. They put out an RFI, or request for information, looking for a rifle that has a barrel between 12 and a quarter to 14 inches, a folding stock, and it needs to be able to run everything from 55 grain up to 77 grain and maintain a 2 MOA accuracy standard, along with no more than 125 feet per second loss along its 10,000 round barrel life. It must include a Huxworks Flow 5.56K suppressor, a Magpul Myad grip, and the Magpul CTR stock with a folding adapter. I love the CTR. That's not their newest thing. They've had that for a long time, but the CTR stock is great. There's also a bunch more details on what they're looking for, and I'll link that below. In other industry news, Max Michel has landed after leaving Sig Sauer. If you don't remember, he was at Sig for a lot of years as a competition shooter and even had several signature models with them. Well, now he's landed at Staccato under the title of VP of Training, Marketing, and Brand Ambassadorship. That sounds like a lot of stuff that doesn't really get related. Maybe marketing and brand. Okay, whatever. Hopefully, this is a good thing long term, and we're going to start to see some more interesting things come out of Staccato as a result. Time will tell. And Colt CZ Group has reported that despite seeing a 10.4% drop in guns sold so far this year, they were able to report a growth in profit of 7.3% year over year. This is likely due to their ammunition brands doing better by almost 14% year over year. They noted in their announcement that CZ branded products perform better than Colt branded ones. Duh. I will say this. I know people are still feeling the stuff that they allegedly did in Canada. I don't know if they actually did it. I'm just saying they're accused of it in Canada. And I know that Colt branded guns are boring and overpriced. If only gun companies would hire me to help them sort this kind of crap out. Side note, yes, I'm actually willing to consult on stuff like that. And I have done it for several brands over the years, and I'm currently doing it for a few brands right now. I'd love to see CZ drop Colt altogether. And I guess that temptation of military contracts is too high. I don't know. I don't get why they hold on to that brand. I think Colt should just go away. I don't think it's worth keeping unless they do something interesting. And I promised you guys an absolutely smoking deal of the week. Optics Planet has an awesome one for you. We're looking at the OpMod SIG Romeo 5 in Flat Dark Earth, and if you use my code TGCSIG, it knocks off like 50% from the MSRP. To my knowledge, that is the best deal on the internet for this thing, and I think it's a better price than their actual Black Friday price, so yeah, that's great. So the code TGCBF will knock cash off elsewhere, but the first one is really the one to use. It's a limited time thing, so don't miss out. TGCSIG is the code. That concludes this week's episode of TGC News. If you haven't subscribed yet, we are not legally allowed to be friends. I don't make the rules. I'm sorry to see that. You better subscribe so we can be friends. Also, see you guys next week.